Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at how to become smarter learners.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah.
I like it.
We're going to be exploring how our brains, encode information and process it more deeply.
Yeah, and the most interesting part is that, like, recent research suggests we can actually retrain our brains
Yeah.
to learn better and understand more deeply. So,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Our source for this deep dive is a YouTube video.
Okay.
It's called How to Become Smart in Learning Improve Your English Graded Reader Storytelling.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is a little bit, huh?
Right.
And the speaker is a professor and learning coach who shares insights on what makes a genius learner.
Okay.
And, I've always wondered, like,
Yeah.
what is it about those people who just seem to get it faster than everyone else? Like, are they really born different, or is there something we can learn from them?
Yeah, I think we've all met people like that where it's like, how do you learn so fast?
Right.
What's your secret? And what's exciting is that this isn't about like some innate talent or fixed intelligence.
Right.
It seems these genius skills
Mhm.
are actually something we can develop with the right approach.
So, like, anybody can become a genius.
Yeah,
With
potentially.
the right approach and the right tools.
Yeah, with the right effort,
Effort,
with
yeah.
the right mindset.
Yeah, okay, so let's unpack that a little bit.
Sure.
The source kind of highlights a few key things about these genius learners.
Okay.
What really stood out to you?
I would say one of the biggest things is how efficient they are at remembering information.
Okay.
It's not just cramming facts for a test.
Right.
They seem to retain knowledge in a way that makes it stick.
Okay, so it's not just about memorization then. It's
Not that.
about understanding on a deeper level.
Yes.
Right. And the source also emphasizes how these learners are able to connect the dots
Yes.
and see the bigger picture, which is something that, a lot of us struggle with.
Exactly. Yeah, they could apply what they learn to solve complex problems and see things from multiple perspectives.
Okay.
This deeper processing seems to be crucial for going beyond that surface level of learning.
So how do we unlock this genius level of learning?
Right.
Well, the source talks about a real game changer in recent science, and that is neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Have you been following that research? It's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, we believed our brains were basically fixed after a certain age.
Right.
But neuroplasticity has completely changed, that our
Right.
brains are constantly adapting and forming new connections throughout our lives.
So wait, so that means those learning habits we developed in school,
Uh-huh.
maybe the ones that didn't work so well,
Right.
we aren't stuck with them.
Yeah, it seems that way.
There's hope for people who struggled in certain subjects or felt like they just weren't good at certain types of learning.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's one of the most encouraging things about this research, I think.
Yeah.
It suggests that we can actually reprogram our learning habits
Okay.
and get better at how we take in and process information.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
So anyone can potentially improve their learning abilities if they use the right strategies.
That seems to be the case, yes.
Okay, well then let's get to those strategies.
Okay.
So the source dives into how important high-quality encoding is
Right.
for better memory.
Yeah.
It does mention other videos going into more detail.
Yeah.
But can you give us the gist of it?
Sure. Encoding is how our brains take information and convert it into something we can store and retrieve later.
Okay.
Think of it like a translator turning one language into another.
Okay.
The quality of that translation determines how well we remember things.
Right.
If we just passively absorb information, it's likely to fade.
Yeah.
But if we actively engage with it, make connections, and create meaning, that's what helps it stick.
So how do we do that? How do we make information stick? The source mentions deep processing.
Yeah.
Is that the key?
It seems to be a crucial part, yes.
Okay.
Deep processing means connecting information to the bigger picture,
Okay.
thinking about its different nuances, and seeing it from multiple angles.
Okay, so that reminds me of something from the video.
Okay.
The analogy about a pen stylus.
Oh, yeah.
The source said, imagine you're given a pen stylus, but you're told its only purpose is as a paperweight.
Right.
You wouldn't experience its full potential
Right.
because you wouldn't truly understand what a stylus can do.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
And it really shows how limited our understanding can be if we just scratch the surface of something.
Right.
Deep processing is about going beyond that initial understanding and exploring all the depths of a concept.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see how this all ties together.
Okay, good.
So we encode information, and if we do it well,
Yes.
by processing it deeply,
Mhm.
we remember it better and we understand it on a more profound level. But what's fascinating is that, according to the source, this also leads to something called higher order learning, which is supposed to be the key to really unlocking true understanding.
It's true.
Okay.
The source mentions two frameworks,
Okay.
Bloom's taxonomy and solo taxonomy,
Okay.
that categorize different levels of thinking,
Okay.
from basic to complex.
Gotcha.
But don't worry, we won't get bogged down in technicalities.
Okay, good. Phew.
Yes.
So basically, these frameworks are like a ladder of understanding.
Right.
Each rung represents a deeper level of engagement with the material.
Exactly.
But how do we know where we are on that ladder?
Well, the source breaks it down into four main stages of learning,
Okay.
starting with dealing with isolated facts.
Okay.
This is where a lot of traditional study techniques fall,
Right.
like memorization and rewriting notes.
Huh.
You're taking in information, but not necessarily making connections or seeing the bigger picture.
It sounds like it's important, but not enough on its own. So what's the next step up?
The next level is about applying information.
Okay.
This could be solving problems with slightly different variables
Mhm.
or relating concepts to real-world examples.
Okay.
It's getting closer to deeper understanding,
Right.
but we're not quite there yet.
So we're starting to connect the dots a bit more.
Yes.
But I'm curious, how do we get to those higher levels?
Yeah.
The ones that really lead to a deeper understanding.
Well, that's what we'll explore in part 2 of this deep dive.
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I like it.
We'll climb higher on that ladder of learning and see how we can truly unlock our potential.
Can't wait.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right. All right. So, are you ready to climb higher on that ladder of learning?
I am. I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Let's delve into those upper levels.
Okay.
The third stage is where we start to see the magic of deeper understanding. It's about forming relationships
Okay.
and creating groups of information.
Okay.
Instead of isolated facts, we see how different concepts connect. We compare and contrast ideas, identify cause and effect relationships, really start to build a network of knowledge.
Ah, so it's like weaving a tapestry of knowledge rather than just collecting scattered threads.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, this is making a lot more sense than just trying to cram a bunch of unrelated information into my head.
Right, and as we reach this level, our understanding naturally deepens.
Okay.
We encode information better, and we start to see the bigger picture more clearly.
Now it all kind of works together.
Very.
Okay, but there's one more level, right?
Yes, there is.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Okay.
What's at the very top of this learning ladder?
The fourth and highest level is where we make judgments
Okay.
and prioritize information.
Okay.
It's not just about seeing connections.
Right.
It's about evaluating them.
Okay.
We figure out which ones are most important.
Gotcha.
We're comparing entire networks of knowledge,
Wow.
developing a really deep understanding of how all these concepts relate to each other.
That's a pretty incredible transformation from isolated facts to comparing entire frameworks of knowledge.
It is, and the more we engage in this higher order thinking,
Yeah.
the better our brains become at it.
Okay.
We're literally rewiring our brains to learn more efficiently.
So it's not about being born a genius, it's about training our brains to think more effectively.
Exactly.
Yeah, that feels a lot more hopeful.
Yeah.
A lot more like something we can actually work towards.
Exactly, and the source actually gives it some really actionable strategies
Ooh, okay.
to do just that.
I like actionable advice.
Yes.
Let's dive into those strategies. I'm always looking for ways to upgrade my learning game.
Okay, great.
Where do we begin?
Well, for those quick wins,
Okay.
the source suggests starting by figuring out where you currently stand on that learning ladder.
Okay.
Are you stuck at the bottom with isolated facts?
Okay.
Or are you already connecting ideas and building knowledge networks?
That makes sense. You can't really improve if you don't know where you're starting from. Right. How can we figure that out?
Think about your current study techniques.
Okay.
Are you relying heavily on memorization or simply rewriting notes?
Okay.
Or are you actively engaging with the material, creating mind maps, asking yourself challenging questions?
So it's about recognizing those patterns and
Yeah.
being honest with ourselves about whether our current methods are really leading to deeper understanding.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can definitely see some areas where I could be doing more.
That's a great first step.
Okay.
Once you have a sense of your current level,
Mhm.
the next step is to intentionally push yourself to the next run of the ladder.
So if I'm stuck in the rote memorization rut, I need to start incorporating techniques that force me to connect ideas and see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Okay.
If you're relying on flashcards for simple facts,
Right.
Try creating flashcards that require you to explain how two concepts are related.
Oh, okay.
If you're passively rewriting notes, challenge yourself to summarize the main points in your own words. Or create a diagram that visually represents the connections between ideas.
So it's about being deliberate and choosing techniques that stretch us beyond our comfort zone.
Yes, and getting comfortable with that slight discomfort.
Okay.
The effort we put in now will pay off later.
Right.
The source also suggests creating what it calls pre-study structures.
Pre-study structures. Okay, that sounds interesting. What does that even mean?
Think of it as prepping your brain for learning.
Okay.
Before you dive into a lecture,
Right.
a textbook chapter, or a self-study session, take a few minutes to lay a foundation for understanding.
So it's like creating a blueprint before you start building a house.
Exactly. And it's not just about reading ahead or skimming the material.
Okay.
It's about building a framework in your mind.
Right.
The source suggests taking 10 to 15 minutes
Okay.
to identify the 3 or 4 main ideas of a topic.
Gotcha.
Then think about the relationships between them.
Okay.
How do they connect, contrast, or build upon each other?
It sounds like creating a mental map of the key concepts
Exactly.
before you even start taking in the details.
By doing this, we activate our brains
Okay.
and make them primed to make connections when we encounter the new information.
That's a really cool idea. It feels like we're setting ourselves up for success right from the start.
And what's interesting is that the source recommends doing this for an entire topic at once,
Okay.
not just for individual lessons,
Why is that?
because it helps you see the bigger picture,
Okay.
the connections you might miss if you're focusing on smaller chunks.
Makes sense, yeah. It's like taking a step back to see the whole forest instead of getting lost in individual trees.
Right.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that.
Okay, great.
But what about note-taking? I take a lot of notes. Is that a bad thing?
Taking notes can be helpful, but the source suggests delaying it.
Delaying it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This might be a challenge for those who love to jot down everything immediately.
Yeah, I'm definitely one of those people. I always have a pen in hand ready to write down every word.
I see.
Why is delaying note-taking a good thing?
When we write things down immediately, we're essentially offloading the work our brain should be doing
Okay.
to process and organize information.
Oh, okay.
It gives us the illusion of understanding, but we might not be encoding the information deeply.
Oh, I've totally been there.
Yeah.
Walking out of a lecture with pages of notes, but feeling like I haven't actually retained anything.
Exactly. The source argues that's why we can sometimes have pages of notes,
Right,
but not much understanding.
right.
When we resist the urge to write everything down,
Uh-huh.
our brains have to hold on to the information longer,
Okay.
process it, and make connections.
Right.
We're making our brains work harder,
Okay.
which leads to better encoding and retention.
So it's like a mental workout for our brains.
You could say that.
No pain, no gain. Right.
Instead of verbatim notes, try summarizing the information in your own words. It forces you to engage with the material on a deeper level.
Right. Okay. I'm willing to challenge my note-taking habits, but what if I'm worried about forgetting important details if I don't write them down right away?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
The key is finding a balance that works for you.
Okay.
The source isn't saying to completely abandon note-taking.
Right.
Think of it as being more intentional with your notes.
Okay.
Use them to enhance your understanding, not prevent you from processing information in the first place.
Right. So finding that sweet spot is important.
Yes,
Capturing the key takeaways without relying on notes as a crutch.
exactly.
I think I can do that.
Okay, good.
What other long-term strategies does the source recommend?
Well, one of the big ones is increasing our cognitive load tolerance.
Cognitive load tolerance. Honestly, that sounds a little intimidating. What exactly is that?
It's our ability to handle the mental effort it takes for deep processing
Okay.
and higher order learning.
Right.
Remember that deep thinking can be challenging, even a little uncomfortable, especially if we're not used to it.
So it's about pushing our brains out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
But why is that important?
The more we engage in that challenging higher order thinking,
Yeah.
the easier it becomes.
Okay.
We build up our mental stamina like
Okay.
a muscle.
Yeah.
The more we use it,
Right.
the stronger it gets.
So those short-term strategies we discussed,
Mhm.
going up a level, delaying note-taking,
Yes.
creating those mental maps,
Right.
they all contribute to building this cognitive load tolerance in the long run.
Exactly. And the second long-term strategy is critically reflecting on your study techniques.
Oh.
It seems obvious,
Right.
But it's easy to just go through the motions with studying without actually stopping to evaluate what's working.
You know what? I'm totally guilty of that.
It happens to a lot of us.
Yeah, I just do what I've always done without really thinking about whether it's actually helping me learn.
But the source stresses how critical reflection is crucial
Okay.
for figuring out what's truly effective.
Okay.
Ask yourself,
Yeah.
what strategies are helping me understand and retain information?
Right.
Which ones are just wasting time?
It's about being honest with ourselves and paying attention to the results we're getting,
Right.
not just doing something because we think we should.
Right. The source goes even deeper,
Okay.
suggesting we need to understand the theory behind why certain techniques work.
Okay.
It helps us troubleshoot our own learning challenges and become more independent learners.
I love that. It's like becoming your own learning mechanic.
Right.
You understand how things work under the hood,
Uh-huh.
so you can fix them when they break down.
That's a great analogy. It's about taking ownership of your learning process
Right.
and continuously striving to improve your understanding.
Okay.
And that's a journey that never really ends.
This has been so insightful. I'm already thinking about how I can revamp my study habits
Right.
and incorporate some of these strategies. It feels like there's so much potential to unlock.
It's all about taking those first steps and trusting that with consistent effort, we can all become more effective learners.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding what makes a genius learner
Right.
to exploring this incredible concept of neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts for our listeners as we wrap up part 2?
Well, what really strikes me is it kind of changes how we think about the word genius.
Right.
It's not about some inborn talent that only a lucky few possess.
That's such an important point. This deep dive has shown us that we all have the potential to improve our learning abilities
Yeah.
and develop those genius skills.
It's like that limiting belief
Yeah.
that we're just not good at certain things.
Right, yeah.
This research suggests we can actually change that.
Absolutely. For years, I struggled with math.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was convinced I was just not a math person. But when I started applying some of these principles, challenging myself to go beyond rote memorization, finding real-world applications, and even just changing my attitude about it,
Right.
I was amazed at how much progress I could make.
That's incredible. So you really saw a difference in your own learning just by shifting your mindset
Yeah,
and trying different strategies.
I really did. It wasn't easy.
Right.
But the more I practiced those higher-level thinking skills, the more comfortable I became with the discomfort of not knowing something right away.
Okay.
It's like building mental stamina.
Makes you wonder how many of us are limiting ourselves because of these fixed mindsets about learning.
It happens all the time. But the beauty of neuroplasticity is that it offers hope.
Right.
It tells us that we're not stuck.
Yeah.
We have the power to change the way our brains work and become more effective learners.
I love that shift in perspective. It's not about being a genius.
Right.
It's about becoming a genius learner.
Precisely. And this deep dive has given us a roadmap. By understanding how our brains encode and process information, and by actively using techniques that encourage deep processing and higher order learning,
Right.
we can all unlock our full learning potential.
And it's not just about academics either, right? This could apply to learning new skills, adapting to new challenges at work, pretty much any area of life where we need to learn and grow.
Exactly. It's about embracing that lifelong curiosity,
Yeah.
that joy of figuring things out.
This deep dive has really been transformative.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a whole new set of tools for learning.
I'm thrilled to hear that, and I hope our listeners feel the same way.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I'd like to leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Think of one area in your life where you feel like you could learn more effectively.
Okay.
What study techniques are you using?
Right.
Could you apply even one principle from this deep dive to that area?
Yeah.
Even small changes can lead to big results over time.
Absolutely. So take what you've learned, experiment with different strategies,
Yeah.
and discover your own path to becoming a genius learner.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of discovery.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive, where we'll continue to explore the fascinating world of knowledge and unlock the secrets to learning smarter, not harder.